Welcome to Keeping Up with Data. Keeping Up with Data is the podcast that keeps data enthusiasts up to speed with what is happening in the data world. We bring in the leading minds from the data industry to talk all things career, news, embarrassing stories, failures and successes.
So something really important for us here at Precision Sourcing is mental health. It's something we've been focused on a lot over the last year or so, and we're lucky enough to have partnered with the Black Dog Institute. And we're going to be doing a lot of events with them this year. A lot of our events, money will be going towards them. And they're out there aiming to create a mentally healthier world for everyone. So if you wish to support the cause, please donate via the link in the bio on this podcast, and you'll be seeing a lot more information about Black Dog over the next year.
Well, welcome once again to a very special episode of Keeping Up with Data with myself, Joel Robinstein. And today we are joined by a great friend of Precision for many years, Deepak Prasad. Deepak, as with every episode, at the beginning of it, we let you introduce yourself. We know you're a BI consultant, but please tell everyone a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, so thanks, Joel, first of all, for having me here and giving me an opportunity to share what I know about data to each and everyone who's listening to your podcast so far. And one of the main reasons for me to get on and do this was the main motivation was always most of the times when you have been asked to do a podcast, it's about what that podcast mission is, right? There are many recruitment companies in the market, but tell me how many are collecting, running surveys and collecting the data and sharing with people and letting know what's the stand of data engineer, analytics engineer, and things like. So when someone from a data company, I call you guys a data company, is asking you to be on a data podcast, you don't say no to them. So that's one of the motivation for me to get on to talk to people who knows data, how the data industry works in APAC specifically. And that's that's about me, and that's the reason why I'm in the podcast. And let's go on. What do you got for me?
Yeah, mate, I'm very excited. Well, look, just to let everyone in on what we're going to be doing today. Today's a bit of a special episode. So traditionally on Keeping Up with Data, we've gone for more of a top level vibe with the podcast, chatting to a lot of heads of data, chief data officers. But, you know, the reason we wanted you on today, Deepak, is you're obviously a very agile BI consultant. You work across different tech stacks. You're still hands-on with the tools. So we're going to get into a lot more about the ever-changing nature of the data industry from a bit more of a technical aspect. And we're also going to get into a little bit about your career history, and also just some stories, buzzwords, what's happening, what's changing. So it could be a really fun episode today, especially for the listeners looking at it from a different angle. So look, as with most podcasts, Deepak, let's start with your story. You know, you've started at university, you've come out of university. Where did it all begin for you, and how have you managed to end up where you are?
So that would let me tell you a story. What happens in India? So in India, when we finish our academics, we will be going through a drill called campus interview, where all the tech companies and the product companies will come to your college, I think you would have, most of the college would, the companies would get into third or fourth year end, where you finish all your semesters, almost have a good aggregate, and then they will give you a aptitude test to see how you're scoring. It's kind of a psychometric test that we have here. And then I started my career with a company called TCS, Tata Consultancy Services, services-based company. That's where I learned most of my tricks till date. I am a good consultant, or better than what I used to be. It's all because I owe a huge piece to TCS, because they literally taught us everything, mate. So from how to wear a tie, what are the different types of knots, how to drink a chicken soup in a table, how would you say that you have finished your food, what's the gesture that spoon and fork should say to the waiter, each and everything that as a consultant, how to talk, and how would you say a no that it's that's been well conceived as a good no, what's a bad no, each and everything. That are all the good attributes and qualities of a consultant you see in me. It needs to be improved whatsoever. I got it from TCS. That's where I started. I initially started with black and white screen. Unix is where I started. I started writing lots of Unix scripts to automate things, moving data from batch files to reports. and then skimming through lot of log files and finding if there are some errors as and when it happens. So I started with black and white, old school way of coding. And then what happened is I started with production support team. So that used to be a good amount of tickets. So we act on tickets. So whenever you find an issue, there would be a standard operating procedure given to you, and then you follow the procedure and you finish it. So I was doing it for 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, and then you see the operating procedure and you will get something in your mind. Why can't this be like that? And you start questioning, because when you start it, you better follow what's been given to you. But when you pick up the trick, you will find some better way to do it. So when the days passes by, I thought, okay, why not, let's take the total number of tickets. Let's see where the majority of tickets are coming from. See if we can automate some of them. So that's where the fascination towards automation and writing piece of codes, not follow little bit, standing away from standard operating procedure and doing on your things on your own way, all started. So as once I finished this exercise, I finished it and I showed that this is the 70% of volume. This is where the 70% of volume comes from. And this is where we can automate it. I have run this piece of code and I have tested it. Do you want to take a look? To my tech lead? And everyone was surprised. And did you do that all by yourself, or it's all outsourced?
Brilliant.
And then they were happy. And then one person I won't forget in my life was the account manager. He came in and said, Deepak, you literally turned down. There were around 4 resources, if I remember correctly. And then after some 6-7 months, 4 became 2. And then they split the team into production support and process improvement team. So one automation or someone's idea, and then my tech lead, who happened to see the piece of code that I've written and everything, he was so enthused. And we also have they structured the team into 2 pieces, where one still looks into BAU and one starts improving the processes. And later what happened is client loud and they started getting, the rest are all history. So what I'm trying to say is, I'm when I came into IT, I started with Unix and then started that's how, when you can automate certain things, which helps people to invest their minds somewhere else, where they can be of really of high value. That's where
It all began.
that's where it has to be done. So
just quickly on that point, Deepak, because
yeah.
what you've done and described there is, and it's perhaps an Australian way of thinking, I don't know, but a stigma that a lot of people consider those when you're early on in your career with a large consultancy, you are told, you sit in this chair and this is what you're doing, you deliver that, that's it. We don't need you to do anything outside of that. And that, is what many people think. But you've just described something there where you said, hey, I've seen a problem, I'm going to go and fix it. And you've then been able to implement that. So was that just your way of thinking? Is it the way that you communicated the idea that you think helped it stood out? Or is it just the fact that you went, you know what, I'm going to do it in my own time and then bring it back to the team? And they were like, wow, what was the catalyst to it all?
So the catalyst was my less confidence on myself when I started. Or to be honest, when I started automating, what happened was I wasn't very confident to show what I have done to my peers, because I thought, okay, 4-month guy going and taking, I think they would have done this all by themselves. I think there is a reason that they have not done it. So let me make sure whatever I have done is working correctly. And at the same time, I would be having my own BAU. So I can't tell to my manager that I didn't close any tickets for the past 1 week because I was busy automating. So it's very important thing, right? So when you wanted to do something different, yes, you can do it, but not at the cost of losing something else. This is what many people miss in the early stage of career. Yes, in consulting world, you would be asked to do certain things because there are people above you, beside you, doing something else. So it's better you do your stuff. But at the same time, as if you want to grow in your career and prosper, so what you have to do is you do your stuff and then do something above it, such that it takes you forward. And then you make sure whatever you are doing is in line, confirm, verify, and then you go to your peers and present. So whatever the notion with the consulting world is fine, that is what it is. Because the way consulting world works, this is also another topic I thought of speaking, right? What is the difference between the FTE, a full-time equivalent in an organization, and a contractor and a consultant, right? So there is always big debates going on between all the three. So how I see is the full-time equivalent or the persons, they have many other operational things to do, BAU stuff, and they are busy in maintaining the system to the operational. I say something's failed, they have to get it up running. And the contractors are hired for a specific skill set. So you are good in Informatica, you are good in Tableau, you are good in Alteryx for a specific skill. But if you take consultant don't do coding, basically. Consultant sets the framework. So I have to set a recruitment company. I know a friend called Joel Steen who has already set up a recruitment company and a data practice. Would I do it from the scratch, or would I go to someone who has done it and he knows nooks and corners of how it can go wrong?
Yeah.
Same thing with your building, right? So you want to build a house and you don't know whether it's going to be a 3-story, 5-story, 7-story, but you plan to watch some YouTube videos and start doing it. But if you speak to a person who has already done it multiple times, he will tell you exactly what should be the depth of the hole you should dig before even you start building,
Yeah.
because he would tell you those things where many people go slip. So consultant I see is the one who can see everything from high level and understand the shallowness and depth of what each people are doing and what is their responsibility is, and how to build a framework so that none can go wrong in between. That's what, yeah,
And
that's
so
what.
and you found your calling in a sense there early on in your career, which is great. And obviously you went from TCS through Capgemini, a couple of other places. Now you landed in Australia, I think around 2016, which is when I
Yeah,
think you met one of my ex-colleagues, Ben
yeah,
Tanswell, if you remember. And
yeah.
you used to land yourself a job, I think maybe Analytics 8. Maybe it'd be great if you could just talk about that transition, because obviously it's a move that a lot of people want to make and are making in their lives, moving from overseas. I moved from the UK myself. How was that transition, the culture shock? Any stories that you've got around that would be amazing for people listening.
So I would start with culture shock.
Hmm.
So what happened is after some time, me and my wife, we thought that we are going abroad for sure. We applied permanent residency status to multiple countries.
Mhm.
It's not only Australia. We applied to Canada. We applied to Australia. And before that, I was applied L1B with TCS. Unfortunately, it didn't go through because for L1B category, they wanted at least 6 years of IT experience, a specialized skill. So I was having only 3 years of experience. So my application didn't go through. So the second option was Australia PR. I got the PR. I called my friends in Australia. Each and every one, whoever I called, as soon as I received PRs, told me the same single thing, which is come here and apply for jobs. You will get one. Don't sit there. You will
Yeah.
not get one. You have to interact with people. But human mind is always crazy. It wants to try all the different things. Whatever your friends say. So that's what happened. So I got into LinkedIn. And then so at that time, the famous keyword for searching for a business intelligence job is DWBI.
Yeah.
So data warehouse and business intelligence. So I went on to the LinkedIn. I chose the country as Australia, Sydney, Australia, because I know I'm coming to Sydney, and then search DWBI.
Hmm.
Trust me. And then in my search criteria, there comes a company called DWBI. It's run by Matt Gorky, if I remember his name
Yeah.
correctly. And then I messaged him, hey, my name is Deepak. I booked my flight ticket to Australia. I think it's 17th of June, 2016.
Yeah.
I'm coming there on this date. Today I'm messaging you in April 5th or something, April mid. Do you have anything lined up? And then then he said, why can't we schedule a Skype call? Then I said yes. And then the internet wasn't this much sophisticated. Skype is so crappy by that time.
Good then,
And
yeah.
then we had frequent disconnection and with the internet and whatever. But I was able to explain on Skype what's my skill set and stuff. Then he said, I think I got something for you. There is a specialized consulting firm in Qlik called Analytics 8. Do you want to talk with them? And then I had a chat. And then what happened is one thing Matt told me was it's going to be syntax driven. And then I was very happy because in India, to crack the interview, it's more about syntax, less about the soft skills and the negotiation part and consulting piece, because it's technical first and then they get into the functional. The interview was conducted by one guy who's very specific about syntax. Even if you miss a semicolon, he wouldn't be happy in the interview.
Wow.
So, so I took the interview and I said hi and his name, and then he said, "Here is your." He said, "Hi, how are you? Good. I have sent you a notepad," and he sent a notepad with 15 questions in it in Skype, and then my screen was shared and I was typing questions in notepad. And then he said good, and he asked some basic questions in Qlik, Tableau. At that time, Qlik and Tableau wasn't this popular. It was popular, but not this popular.
Yeah.
So, and then he asked, and then he said, "That's good." And then we had a second round, and second round was more funny. He said, "You're good." And then he asked me all the questions, and then finished. And then he said the next round would be consulting round.
Yeah.
And then it's done. And then I asked, what's my score? You're good. You got 15 almost. And then 15 out of 15. And I think 14. It's not 15. And maybe I got one wrong. And then, but his reaction was so neutral. I thought, okay, maybe Australians are not expressive.
Yeah, right.
That's all that. Then I thought, okay, that's my first cultural shock.
Yeah.
Okay. He said, just, yeah, it's good. You got around 14 to 15. That's it. Yeah. And then call closed. Okay. Then, and then the director, I don't know whether I can mention his name here. So let's say director of analytics IT called, and I still remember the first two questions he asked. I'm very sure this question is going to help everyone. He asked me, what are all the qualities of a BI consultant? Then I gave him 5 to 10 minutes of explanation. Then he asked me again, have you covered everything? Then I gave another 5 minutes of explanation, and then he said, good. Then he went for the second question, which is what are all the qualities of a good BI consultant?
Oh man, these guys are out there.
I was awestruck, and then because I almost dumped my brain on the first question itself, but that was that was a hell of an interview, I would say. Because you have almost juiced out on one topic, and then if someone is doing a second question on that, that means he has still to see something more, or maybe I missed something on that. Then I finished it, and then I've been offered.
Fantastic. So thinking back to that time, you had those two questions, you then versus you now. Like, what did you learn in that interview that you would do differently now? Like, what would be the change that you would make?
So, that's a very good question, Joel. Again, so the qualities of a consultant is someone who sees everything high level and able to act if required in such a lowest level of detail. So someone who can get onto the helicopter level of height and again get to the lowest level on the ground and solve the problem. That would be the qualities of a consultant. But the qualities of a good consultant would be he will do that, but at the same time he mentors, he coaches, he makes sure everything is going as per the line. He puts a governance layer on what he is doing, what his project is doing, is everything is doing. So those are all the things I learned when I came here. That's why many people ask me, what's your title when is it BI developer, BI? I mean, I always like to be called a consultant. That's the reason I never moved from this kind of roles to a permanent to a company or whatsoever, because I felt, I might be wrong, but that's what I felt. I felt the borders would be so closed if you are in a specific role with a specific skill set and for a specific roles and responsibilities. But the moment you put yourself as a consultant, everything comes to you. I mean, trust me, the problems that comes to a consultant is not a problems that usually goes to a normal people. It would be something different. Like I should be able to adjust the levers in people side, process side, and technology side, but it would be different for other set of individuals, because sometimes as a consultant you have to, it's not about only technology.
Yeah.
Business first, technology second. That mindset is the biggest mindset change for me that happened over the years. And the second mindset change that happened to me is, I thought using very good acronym in data and explaining everything with high techy buzzwords, that means you are smart. And that was one of the second myth buster for me. If you're able to explain anything and everything as simple as to you are explaining to your kid or your mom, that's when you are excelling in your career. That's a second myth buster I had to go through.
Well, that leads us very nicely into one of our common questions on this podcast, Deepak. You've done
Yeah.
well with the segue there, mate. So explain like I'm 5. Explain like I am your 5-year-old sat at that table. What is it that you actually do on a day-to-day basis?
So so on day-to-day basis, I go through lots and lots of information and I tell a story.
Perfect.
Yep. A
Just
lot.
that.
That's it. That's it. So I tell a story, but only thing is, after listening to my story, no one should sleep. It should be awake.
Yeah, right. You should be awake after hearing what you've got to say. That's awesome. Do
And
you know what? That anyone could follow. You're right. You look at information and you tell a story. I mean, is that not just what people within data should be doing right now? You know, without the
correct. So
story, nothing happens.
and most of the time, Joel, in my experience, what happens is storyboarding happens in dashboards, right?
Yeah.
So, and most of the dashboards, what it do, trust me, the operational people or the executive people who you build the dashboard, if you're seeing the same dashboard for 365 days, do you think you will make anything different than what you did before?
Hmm.
But the main secret sauce here is how you are gathering that information and orchestrating the dashboard such that each day the dimension that you have about the data and the action you took yesterday is should be different than what you're making today. So that's the secret sauce of building a dashboard. So I can throw a bar chart, I can throw a pie chart. And this is one of the reason I should thank COVID, right? Nowadays, I've stopped explaining what is bar chart, line chart, pie chart, why data being up to date is very important. We literally stopped. For many of the consultants, we stopped on these topics because people understood that every day, COVID-19 Sydney statistics, when they type on Google, they will know, they will look at the date when the information is provided, what time. And the best thing comes now, people understand the definition of data. If there are 18,927 cases, is it today or as of now cumulated? And how many people are in ICU? How many people are in still in with the support, without the support? So these are all the things, right? We are business intelligence specialists, data engineers, analytical engineers. It's all because of that definition of data.
Perfect.
Trust me.
Perfect. And do you know what, Deepak? I guess that's one of the reasons why we wanted to speak today and kind of dive into what it's like to be someone within the data day to day who's actually hands on with the data day to day. It leads me to my next line of questioning. You're the first person we've had on the podcast who what we would consider a career contractor in a way,
Yeah.
like you've already mentioned, someone who likes to go in and look at everything from the top level and then deep dive and top level. So you obviously interact with the data market very differently than a lot of permanent people within the industry. As we know from, as you mentioned, our talent survey this year, that the data market is 70% or more permanent people. So how do you find it different navigating the data market as a contractor, whether that be, you know, with recruiters in terms of getting a role, how many roles you see out there? I'd just love to dive into that topic a little bit with you.
So that's going to be a big topic. Let me
Yeah.
drink some water.
Let's do it. Let's do it. So why have you chosen contract? Let's just start there, nice and easy.
So this market, without even looking at the stats, I can tell you whatever the number you said is exactly right. 60 to 70% it's all contracting.
Yeah.
And 30% is BAU. Okay.
Yeah.
So the permanent roles.
Yeah.
So how I see from enterprise, right? So I hire people and keep them permanently for something operationally. I wanted it to be run permanently. I have permanent resources. I hire contractors to come and do something for me and then vanish so that the people in the BAU can take care of. I hire consultants who have supreme skills in doing whatever we are going to do as per our mission for next 2 or 3 years, but they are the ones who are going to set the rail guards for my contractors and my system people to follow on. So these are all the three needs of an organization, right? And I'm very sure you would understand it. But the reason why I had to reiterate it is because if if we see from one enterprise and then we go from 100 to 1000 enterprise, the needs are exactly the same. So 30 to 40% of the requirements or in the market is in data or non-contracting, and contracting is for the specific skill set. Can I have the best Tableau consultant who can come up with a template which is of best practice, which can load in a browser in less than 5 seconds and can orchestrate a data modeling which is as efficient as possible and do it so that when it fails, when it goes through when metrics, definition and everything, it's all has to be documented and set and knowledge has to be transitioned. So the guy who's sitting inside the house maintaining holding the fort can hold it easily. And regarding the contracting market, how I see it's to be a world is it's based on the needs of the market as well.
Yeah.
So 2016-17, trust me, the amount of BI roles in the market was twice as the amount of roles that is for ETL, data engineers and data transformation or analytical engineer, the new role. We are going to talk about it, analytical engineers, and why this role is going to come a lot. So let's say if there are 100 BI roles, there were only 50 data warehouse roles.
Yeah.
People thought if we have a good dashboard, that means we are running a good data driven organization. And then I think it's, if I'm not wrong, around 2018 endish, we had Royal Commission going on.
Yeah.
Everywhere, asking questions about the data, quality, concurrency, staleness, definition again. And then everyone was worried about the quality of data first, and then the dashboards shifted.
Definitely.
I had to say Royal Bank Commission has really done its part. And then what happened is I really saw there's a big movement happening between, so same, the ratio shifted. The BI roles reduced. Still, there are roles of BI. But I had to correct my statement. It was still 50 or 100, whatever the number I told before. The BI, the number of roles was still same, but data warehouse roles become double than. That means it's more than double than BI. So that's what happened in the market. So people understood that quality of the data is more important. Let it run a machine learning algorithm or a computer vision or anything without your data being correct. There's no point in having a sophisticated dashboard which shows the elegant visualization for people to make decisions, because decision is not going to be based on the beauty of the dashboard, but on the quality of the data.
Right.
So, and then what happened is the another best thing happened. So in 2000, so this is the stats that I went through recently. In 2010, we had processed around 2 zettabytes of data and all over the world. 2 zettabytes of data we have processed all over the world. In 2020, we have processed 44 zettabytes of data, which means our data volume has grown significantly, around 22 folds. Just imagine this volume. So whoever would have seen the stats in and around 2018, 19, 20 would have definitely moved their career towards data.
Yeah, 100%.
So for the past, if you can generate such a huge volume of data in such a short span of time, then just wait for what's going to happen in 2030. So 44 multiplied by another 10, maybe 440 zettabytes of data. So that's what got me very keen.
So, makes sense. Good.
So, and then your question, right? So this is how I see the market. So there are 3 or 4 kinds of roles that's going to be there in the data market ever. One is going to be data engineer. the one who is going to take care of the infrastructure side of the data. So setting up the say a storage, a compute ready for someone to work on. The infrastructure needs to be there, sitting there, and also the data should be pouring automatically. So basically the pipe will be set so that water keeps flowing. And what happens with the water is all decided by the analytical engineers. They are going to write the transformation logics. Okay, all the currencies are going to be transferred to which currency? Australian dollars. Okay, all the zeros are what? Male. All the ones are what? Female. Okay, they are the ones who are going to code the transformation piece. And then the BI guys. But one thing that changed a lot over last 3 years was ETL versus ELT. So we were all traditionally what we were doing is we are extracting, transforming, and then loading. So this created a hiccup in the process saying, okay, so that means business has to wait until the data is getting transformed. So the data scientist basically will be waiting for more than 1 year until you finish the transformation and confirm it to them. Data scientist can't wait. So what they said is, why can't we just take as good as the source and shut it down in a place and start transforming? So extract and then load and transform. And many of the practice that was written before 5 to 6 years back has to be rewritten. The one reason is before 6, 7 years, what is this? What is the price that you would have paid for 1 TB hard disk? Like $100 or $200. Now you can get it for what, $9 per month?
Yeah, exactly. Right.
Yeah. So whatever the best practices that has been documented before 5, 6 years, or most of the time based on the storage or efficient in storing, now people would say, if I can process, if I'm going to spend $1 million to reduce the storage so that I can save some bill, instead I would pay off of it and get storage, because storage are peanuts now.
Yeah, exactly right.
So now, so you have to change everything based on what changed. If you still stick up with the old methodology, and still, if you are running a shop, which is perfectly fine for the new, with the old stack, that's fine. But what I'm trying to say is the reason for the change is not only because of the tech change, everything changed. So the prices of the storage changed, the prices of the compute changed. If you in enterprise, if you just divide the cost into OPEX or CAPEX, basically they will operational expenses and capital and expenses. It's all going to be OPEX now. There is no going to be CAPEX because infrastructure is it's all going to be as a service. Every other thing that you are going to incur in IT is all going to be as a service. You're going to pay monthly.
Yeah, exactly.
No more capital and expenses.
So as the market's changed so much, Deepak, and as all we hear from heads of data and data managers is we haven't got enough people to do the projects. We've got too much data. It's all over the place. And as someone who's still, as you mentioned, at that ground level, seeing what's happening on the front lines as such, what's it like for someone like you in terms of your workload now, in terms of the stresses upon your role, and the requests that you're getting from the business? Are you fully in the camp of we are talent short, we need more people, or are you thinking that there's other ways that we'll maybe deal with that problem?
So when it comes to the amount of data, and the problem is still going to be there until and unless we decides the roles and responsibilities of each people in the tech stack, in the data stack, and how would you define, right? 99% of the problem that's currently remains unsolved is not because of technology. Trust me, technology is definitely going in its full pace. It's all based on the behavioral pattern and the when the governance around data. That's what has to be redefined. What are all the roles and responsibilities of a data steward who defines what is sales, what is margin, how would I calculate sales and revenue in marketing department or in sales department? Is it the same as you would do it in any department? How can I centralize my information and catalog it? And how can I govern it? That's the problem we are trying to solve. So the skill shortage and everything, it can be solved on the way, because what's happening is there are two options when you choose a technology nowadays. One is called build or you buy.
Yeah.
So if you want to build everything from the scratch, that's when you take a path of writing all lines of code from the scratch and do it in your own way as per your organization mandates and the best practices. That's true. Or else you can buy everything as a service and based on the compute or the licensing cost you're going to pay. So
Makes
the
sense.
choice is still with the enterprises. So you can manage the skill shortages by coming up with some products which are self-serviceable.
Yeah.
But if you choose to build everything from nitty-gritty and say you have to do all yourself, then you will have to go through the skill shortage and then you will have to fill it and things like that. So build versus buy is one big thing that every other organization needs to make wisely.
Yeah. It's interesting you say that as well, because I guess what we've got two camps there is, in a market such as we're in right now, as recruiters, obviously we see a lot of different things. This is a kind of market where we see consultancies and product companies do very well. They're very busy because of exactly what you're saying, right? But the general vibe that we hear from a lot of companies, we'd like to build it ourselves. We just don't have the capacity. But a lot of the quality candidates on the market, they want to be part of a build, right? They don't necessarily want to go into somewhere that is in buy mode, because then they're just dragging, dropping, plugging and playing and maintaining. So it's an interesting counterbalance between the two for a company to know which to go for. And the big fear that everyone sees, and it's the same with everything from recruitment fees to anything else. What if we spend $3-4 million buying something and we plug it in and it doesn't do what we need it to do? And all you see is that big line of money. But then there's the other side of things. Well, what if we try to build it ourselves and we spend 4 years doing it and it doesn't work? But a lot of companies go down that route because at least they don't see that initial cost of, well, this is going to cost $3 million up front or something like that, right? So I mean, you've obviously been involved in some of those decision-making processes along the way, and I'm sure it's organizational dependent. And you're someone who's tool agnostic as well. You're across a number of different tools. So do you see any particular software companies or companies that you've worked with, consultancies, whatever, doing things extremely well, or ones that you've maybe worked with yourself in the past?
So one thing that I would appreciate is you have a good chat with the data bunch of people, the bunch of people in your data stack. If I'm talking specifically about data, you need to have a transparent chat with your business and your techie people who will clearly tell you what's happening. What's the current volume? How do you think our volume gets grown? Do you have any prospect of us working have with the other company as a partner? Meaning, are we planning to onboard any new data? What's the prospect of our data going 10 folds in another 1 year, 5 folds in another 1 year? What are the different variables we are working? So are we going to bring in more products? What is our initial mission statement? These are all some basic questions that I think every leader should ask the data people and the business people. So sometimes what happens is, if you go and ask business what do you want as a data, let's say chief data officer goes to business people and ask, hey, I'm the new chief data officer. Tell me what you want. Can I tell you what business will ask? I want data as soon as it is generated. That would be the first and primary ask of any business people, right? But if you honestly ask them, then you go and ask them, why do you need it immediately? Then they would say, no, we want to see as soon as it's there. Okay, then what you're gonna do in that immediate data, with that immediate data, is that anything that you can do with that immediate data? Then you go next level, next level, next level of question. After some 30-40 minutes of discussion, you will understand that they actually don't need data immediately. They need to make some decisions which are time prone, and 1 hour is okay, or 2 hours is okay, or 4 hours is okay. And this is the shape of the data they wanted. And this is the volume that they are expecting it to grow. And then you would talk with your tech people and say, guys, this is the plan. This is the storyboarding that done after speaking with the business. What do you think is achievable?
Yeah.
Do you think with the tech stack that we got and the business wants is matching or not matching?
Mm.
This is how it should work. But what I see in the market is everyone is getting excited reading about what Airbnb is doing, what Uber is doing, what Netflix is doing, and they want to do the same thing in their organization. Netflix completely different, man. If I watch Money Heist today, the Ozark becomes my recommendation list tomorrow.
Yeah.
Both are into money.
Yeah.
Both are into money laundering, money cleaning, whatsoever, right? So the ML ops, the machine learning algorithm, the recommendation engine has to run then and there and decide what I need to watch next. But think insurance, think banking, think, I mean, except stock market, if you think any other organization where you need immediate data, I would definitely question them. Why do you need it? And if you see most of the time, 99, I can say very confidently, I can say 99% of the time, if you see the problem with the data is it's due to purely or loosely defined definitions.
Exactly. No, I agree. All right, let's break the theme that we're on at the minute, Deepak, and lighten the mood a little bit. I know you've come prepared, as most people do for our podcast, with a data joke, and it's something that you wanted to dive into. So I'm thinking that you might have a good one up your sleeve, for everyone listening at the minute. So I'm going to throw it to you. I've also got myself one. Now, I don't normally do one, but obviously I haven't got my co-host here today, so I will throw one at you as well.
Yeah.
But we're going to start with you and see what you've come up with as a data joke.
Okay, so this joke is very personal to me, and I have gone it through many times. So this is in one organization in Australia. I've been tasked to come up with a procurement dashboard. So where is the organizational spend? Where is the 20 percentage of which are all the 20 percentage of company who's taking 80 percentage of our money and things like that? That kind of analysis.
Nice.
So I finished the dashboard development. I had to build it to the long set of stakeholders. I invited everyone to the meeting, and then I'm explaining the dashboard. What is Pareto analysis? How it can work together? How can we predict where we can save costs together? Who are all the companies we have to speak in procurement category, this category, that category? I'm going through all the dashboards of 30 minutes. Like suddenly, I'm like receiving a lot of accolades. People are saying, this is the dashboard. I wish I had it before 3 years. I would have made some wise decisions and things like that. And suddenly I see one person pop up his hand. And the question was, how can I download data from this dashboard? So, so, the, so so the main purpose, so that's the usual one. You ask any BI consultant, anyone who's been presenting and more ambitious and working on a product or anything. And final question and one definite question in each and every showcase of us is, forget about the dashboard. How can I download the data from it?
Oh,
So
right.
that's one of the classic one. I always tell people, doesn't matter how beautiful a dashboard looks or whatsoever, please give an option to people to download data. But it is going other way as well. What's happening is you have a dashboard analysis, pre-computes, everything done and get it ready for them. And what happens is people right click and download the data and they do the same exact computes in the Excel,
No
exact
way.
computes in their favorite BI tool. So which is what exactly you don't want to happen, because when they see it in the dashboard, the governance is all tiled, the metric definition is tiled, they can't break the numbers and things like that. So whenever you go to your next meeting or next showcase, make sure you tell that by yourself, this is how you download the data, and you can skip that question.
That's brilliant, mate. That's brilliant. Do you know what? I had a meeting with my team today, and as you know, we're not super data savvy, even though I know you call us a data company, Deepak, which is very nice of you. But I had everything in a nice graph, nice easy dashboard, and someone just said to me today, "Oh, can I just see all the raw data behind it?" I'm like, I did all that. It took me ages. Come on, man. Like, what are we doing here? So
So you can definitely understand what I'm saying then.
oh, mate, it happens from the most basic level all the way up to everything that you're doing on a daily basis. And you know what? Everybody learns differently. Everybody ingests data differently. Everybody reads things differently, right? So, you know, you could create the best dashboard in the world, and you show 1,000 people, there's always going to be one person who, like you say, is going to say that, right? So. Very good. Well, mine's not much of a story, Deepak. Mine's just a joke that I got off the internet, but I'm going to throw it at you, see if I get a laugh out of you, see what happens. All right, let's see how we go. If you think that your phone is collecting data and the TV is spying on you is bad enough, well, the vacuum has been gathering dirt on you for years.
That's very true.
Yeah, mate, I like that one. I saw, I had to go through a lot of jokes to find one that I was happy with, and I got a laugh out of you. So
As
that's
long as
awesome, man.
what you talk in your home and it's not dirt only.
Yeah, right. Exactly, mate. Exactly. Well, look, we're coming to the end, mate. This has gone very quickly, as they often do. So let's wrap up with a couple of key things. Number one, we ask everybody on every podcast, books, learning. Like, how did you learn? Are there any books that you would recommend to other people, in your shoes, that you could kind of suggest for anyone?
So I would recommend, I think I can show you. It's just behind. So this is the first recommendation. I don't know whether
Yeah, the big book of dashboards. We got it.
big book of dashboards.
Nice.
And the second book I think I'm currently reading and I'm just loving it so much is this book, Building Analytics Teams.
Oh, great.
By John K. Thompson. These are all the two books that I finished Big Book of Dashboards before say 2 years, but Building Analytics Team gives me so high. Some of the things that I've gone through, it's exactly pictured and someone has written about it. So that's a good thing. And see, what I would like to also target and tell people is automation, or don't see automation as automation. See how you can spend your time somewhere else if automation takes care of your job. And for me, one of the main reason why I'm doing all this is because my love for data.
Yeah.
So uh, to be precise, in 2008, 9, 10, during my initial IT years, there was no Qlik, there's no Tableau, Power BI or whatsoever. So it was all the old Cognos and MicroStrategy. MicroStrategy is better now. It's all pre-calculated and aggregated cubes sitting in. And whenever someone makes a click in browser, what happens is the data gets fetched from hard disk and then it comes to the browser and there is a small delay and things like that. That's when the in-memory analytics came. So all the data sits in RAM in memory. So that's why Qlik and Tableau became popular. So when I saw that when to gain speed, if data moves to in memory, which is RAM, if it is giving this much of speed, I was so enthused. In 2011, I predicted that Tableau and Qlik is going to be the forefront of the game and they're going to gain. I just didn't say that. I put some money in Tableau when it was trading and then I gained some money too.
Fantastic.
So same thing. So when you believe in something, when you know that that's going to be the future, you invest in your time, you invest your time in it, learning it and also earning from it. So it's up to you. At the same time, now what I see as a pattern is Snowflake is going to be the name of the game.
Oh, mate, even, in our surveys, it's gone. 2 years ago, it popped up for the first time in our talent survey. Last year, it was the most desired tool to be learned of anything within the data industry. So they're doing a great job over there at Snowflake.
Well, they changed everything, Joel. One of the main reason Snowflake or Google Cloud, everyone is going to adapt the same technologies from Snowflake. But trust me, I've been in this industry for say 14, 15 years. As 15 years, there is some wish list that would be in your heart, right? Oh, if it would have been like this, it would be good. If it would have been like this, it would be good, 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 good. And suddenly you see a platform like Snowflake and you suddenly realize all of your wish list came true.
Right.
And whenever people ask me, how would you explain Snowflake to anyone? This is how I explained, right? So before 10 years, if someone would have come talk to me and told me that you can't send money from one account to another account using your mobile number, I would have definitely laughed. I would have definitely laughed, right? So now Pay ID is everywhere. You can transfer hell and whatever the money that's allowed on the limitations that you got, you can send it. Same with Snowflake. Just imagine if all the companies, all the enterprises, all the departments are in Snowflake or Azure or Google Cloud platform whatsoever. And just if an organization share an account number of theirs, the whole organization data can be simply shared. That's
Amazing.
it.
Do you know what? I've been looking for a really good way to explain it. And like, honestly, you've nailed it there. So on that bombshell, Deepak, we're going to wrap things up because I'm not allowed to go over the hour mark. I've been told this many times before, and we're already at that point. So firstly, thank you for coming on. You've definitely hit a different angle, like we said at the beginning of the pod, in terms of what's going on in the data market, how businesses are interacting with their data. I think really importantly, as we hit on the Royal Commission, especially as well, and how things change. So cannot thank you enough for coming on. It's been an absolute pleasure.
I have a small, I thought I would
one finishing thought.
It would be 1 minute. I would like to share a content that would help. I mean, that is what I want to talk about every other day. I want to talk to you as well. If it is going to help all of your people who are watching this episode, then here is it. The impact of clean water and the impact of clean data is same. While we are aware that dirty water can have impact on people's health, we are less willing to accept or recognize the dirty water data can have an impact on the health of an organization. So if you want to make your organization grow, not just data driven, to make the best decision, put your money on data.
Fantastic. Is this a slide that could be shared, Deepak? We can put this out there?
Yeah, I can share it. Not a problem. Yeah.
Genius, mate. Absolutely genius. Well, on the bombshell of clean water and clean data, Deepak, you're an absolute legend, mate. It's been awesome knowing you all these years, and I'm glad that we managed to do this today.
No worries. No worries. All good.
Good,
Thank
man.
you.
Thanks for listening.